seat taken?
Nobody's in the seat, then I ain't taking, son.
So this is, Sabacc?
Sabacc.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to Sabacc the Block. This is our very first Star Wars show. We are here another week, another day, and another guest, a very special guest. I am here with Aubree from Convor Call, the YouTube channel. Aubree, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Yeah, how about you?
I'm doing great. Awesome. Thank you for being here, Aubree. I really appreciate it. Obviously, there's so much going on when it comes to Star Wars news, when it comes to Star Wars stuff. So obviously, I appreciate your time. Tell me a little bit about yourself and obviously your different outlets that you have.
Yeah, so I started off with and still am on the Convor Call, which is a Star Wars YouTube channel. Me and my boyfriend / co-host, we are both really busy, so we kind of post seasonally. So right now, we are probably going to do like a little wrap up of Bad Batch at some point, and then start doing reactions and like roundtables and a lot of live things for Mando, and so we're really excited about that. I also have a Lord of the Rings podcast there called The Stormcrow Song, and that's really fun. And then on top of that, I am also a part of management and a writer for the entertainment outlet Streamer. So that's been really fun to do recently. And I'm new to that, so it's definitely a change of pace.
I bet. That's amazing. That's definitely a lot for sure. But I like that
It
it's
is.
pretty much almost all Star Wars centered. But
Yeah.
either way, that's super cool. Obviously, what we start our show off with at the very beginning is your Star Wars story. Everyone has a Star Wars story. So Aubree, I want to hear your Star Wars story.
Yeah, so basically I don't remember my first time ever watching Star Wars at all. I think it's just so like ingrained into me and my family. My dad and his dad were very big Star Wars fans, and then my dad went into a lot of like imaging and VFX work. So because of that, he was always like very excited by ILM and by this film, specifically Star Wars. And so I always grew up with him like turning on the trailers for like Attack the Clones and stuff, and I would be really excited about it too. And him pointing out just all the VFX because that was his technology, like mocap and something called like computer vision. And so it was just really exciting to me. And I think one of my earliest memories is actually like sitting around a small TV and him pointing out his ILM friends who were the pilots in the Phantom Menace, who were like the Naboo
No
pilots.
way.
So that was really fun. But like ever since then, I've always just had a passion for Star Wars and just loved it. And I think just as growing up, like through what like life brings you, whether it's like good or bad, it's always been a home and always been like a comfort. And so I wanted to go into writing after that, just because I loved stories, specifically Star Wars stories. So I went to school for that, and then at some point, I was able to I was given the opportunity to work on set for Obi-Wan Kenobi or on Obi-Wan Kenobi, some of that. And that was really fun and crazy because again, I never thought of myself being like in the film industry at all. I was just like, I want to write books or articles and stuff like that. And then it was like just crazy to be there and see the volume. And the volume is a lot of my dad's technologies. Like he'd be texting me before and after and being like, you should look out for this thing. And like this, there are these cool like motion tracking markers that are like totally dorky and nerdy. But if you know what you're talking about, it's really cool. And then from there, I like made connections and stuff. And now the film industry is my job. I never like expected that. And so um, I got to work on some really fun projects that I can't talk about.
Nice.
But yeah, it's I guess Star Wars because of that. It's like always been in my life, and as important as it was always to me, it became even more important to me without even like really realizing it.
That's amazing. That's really cool about your dad too. I didn't know that. That's amazing. Did you pretty much grow up your whole life in San Diego?
Yes, yeah, I
Okay.
grew up in San Diego. My dad was in school doing all of his mathy techie stuff when I was born. So yeah,
Can I ask where you went to school?
yeah. I went to UCSD, so
Nice.
University of California, San Diego. So I've
Awesome.
always been here.
That's incredible. That's really cool. Every time my experience with San Diego is San Diego Comic-Con, which
hmm
I've gone a few times, but every time I go, I swear, I'm just like, damn, San Diego. This is nice. Like this is so nice, especially compared to LA when you're used to like the LA vibe.
Yeah,
Going to San Diego is like night and day. It's crazy. So
totally. It's very, very relaxing. I know going to
yeah.
LA for me is a little bit there's like a lot of sensory overload.
Yes, yes, a lot. And I definitely experienced that quite a bit. So that's amazing. That's a really cool Star Wars story. I'm curious about, I know this is kind of like a follow-up, your kind of like your memorable theater experience. That's something we asked last week. What's a memorable theater experience that you had with a Star Wars film?
Ooh. I think probably I think I have two small ones where I remember being in the theater and seeing Yoda take down Dooku. I remember the whole theater like erupting and that being
Yes.
exciting. And then when I saw episode three, I was in kindergarten and
Mm,
my parents took me out for lunch. They're like I got out of school early, and they like my dad picked me up because my mom was in line downtown, and so my dad went and like zipped me there, and we all were there, and it was exciting. And then uh, my mom thought that like the immolation scene would be too much for me. Said she had read about it, so she told my dad to cover my eyes, and he was just so enthralled that he like put his hand over my face like this, so I saw the whole thing.
that's amazing.
Oops.
That's really
Yeah.
cool. Wow. It's crazy to think that people watched the prequels when they were that young. Because I watched them when I was young too, but not that young. Damn. That's amazing. So we usually get to the green side up at this point of the episode, but I want to get to our Star Wars news, our Star Wars story for today,
I heard a story about you. I was wondering if it's true.
which is all about Star Wars Celebration and the announcement of a potential film. Aubree, how do you feel about obviously what a film can mean in Star Wars that we're finally getting an announcement, but also what film would you want to be announced out of the ones we've heard
Ooh.
rumored?
Uh, let's see. I guess I'm excited about going back to the theater. I know like that is what Star Wars is and has always been. It's always been theater, and while like short format, small format has been really nice, especially in the age of like the pandemic, the pandemic of it all. It's been really nice there and to have it on a small screen. However, like everyone has like big memories from being in the theater. So being able to go back, especially after thinking that like we were done with that for a while is really exciting. Yes, in regards to the project that I think could be announced, I don't know. I know people have been talking about the Lindelof project a lot, and I just started watching Lost recently. I think I'm on the fourth season, and I'm really loving it, and I'm excited by it. So, just being new to Lost and his writing, I'm intrigued as to what he will do. So, fingers crossed that it's that. How about you?
Yeah, I'm honestly in the same boat, to be honest, but it's for a different reason. Have you seen Watchmen?
No, I've been wanting to though.
Yeah, Watchmen to me is the peak of his writing, and it's absolutely incredible, and it's deep, and it's profound, and it makes you think about everything we've seen before with superheroes. So that's the biggest part of it for me, but also the post-sequel part of it, because I'm a sequel fan. So that's huge for me. Are you going to Celebration, by the way? I think I forgot to ask.
I am not, no. I wish. I love going to Celebration. I think just like with work and just life being so busy, I won't be able to go. I will be going to England, fingers crossed, with my family like a few months later, though. But I'm jealous for everyone who's going.
I feel like That's still cool though, because I've never been to London or England or Europe, and I wanted to go obviously for Star Wars Celebration, but also because I was like, I want to know London. I want to get to know the city.
Mhm.
So that's definitely a bummer that I'm not going as well. So I totally get it. But that's cool
Aw.
that you're going to England, though. That's still a big deal. Uh,
Yeah, I'm excited.
I can't wait to hear what it is. I do think it will be the Lindelof one because I heard rumors of rumors that he's apparently working on casting already and that he's pitching the project with an actor. And that actor is apparently Yahya Abdul-Mateen, who he worked
Okay.
with on Watchmen. He played Dr. Manhattan in Watchmen. But Yahya and him are tight. So he says he's pitching the project along with him. This is a rumor. So obviously we don't know what's true or not. But again, I want to hear about Ray the Legend. Like just the idea of people being like, have you heard about Ray? Damn. Like she's crazy. Like she took down 1,000 Star Destroyers. I think that'd be the coolest movie just to acknowledge the sequels. Cause I feel like
Mhm.
Star Wars has kind of like sidestepped the sequels a little bit. So I would love to know more about what happens after these stories. So that would definitely be my preference. Is there another one that you would want to see?
Ooh, I'm trying to think of what's been announced and rumored. I don't know. I mean, some sort of sequel project would be really fun. I feel like my pipe dream is always like something like Star Wars Legacy level, where it's like far in the future and really cool and very familiar but different. Or kind of like the Old Republic too, where things are familiar and different. So I guess that would be like my pipe dream for like a hopeful announcement.
I honestly would love. I just can't wait to see Star Wars movies again, and I think that's a big
Mhm.
deal if we're eventually going to get one. Sorry about my dog, by the way. She's going to keep going off.
No worries.
I know that's annoying after a while. But let's move on to the green Psylop.
If you'd only had this little green Psylop.
And the green Psylop for this week is obviously all about the Bad Batch. We just had our most recent episode of the Bad Batch premiere. As usual, we talk about every episode on a weekly basis. So, Aubree, what'd you think of the latest episode?
I loved it. I think this show is really interesting because it has a lot more episodes than like other television does nowadays. And so you have these times to kind of like slow down and reflect on what's happened in the story. So it starts out in like a really like fun desert environment. And it was just that nice change of pace where like the scenery is desolate and the story is kind of desolate too. But you have a lot of like introspective time for Omega and everyone in the team to really think about what's happened and echo and kind of like reflect and explore themselves. So I really liked it. Yeah.
I agree 100%. And I feel like it's definitely like a come down episode, if that makes sense. After the last two episodes we had, which was the big two grand two-parters. And I feel like this, I mean, even though this one kind of going off that thought, it feels like it might be a two-parter too, because we're still on that planet and we still, don't know what's going to happen. But I do like more character exploration for different clones, especially Tech. We got that earlier in the season, and then we got it with Faster. And now in this episode, we get even more of depth inside of who Tech is, because Tech is always going to be the strict smart guy, but he's never more than that. And I feel like his speech to Omega when they were in that cave at the end about how he processes emotions differently and how he processes situations differently than everyone else, but it doesn't mean he doesn't feel them. Actually, it actually got me, like it actually got me
Oh.
emotional. And I was like, yo, that's deep. Like it really feels like we're getting a different side to these characters, and it's so profound and it's so different. And I feel like that's what's cool about this show, is that you can get these little side adventures but still get more character out of them, if that makes sense. But
Totally.
I love seeing more of Tech. I don't know if you have a favorite or not, but how do you feel about Tech having more exploration behind his character?
I've really liked it. I feel like in like the last season, and even in the Clone Wars, a lot of people were saying that like, oh, Tech like is a kind of 2D. We're learning more about the others and not him. So it's nice that like with Faster and with this episode that we've got more of a focus on him. And especially to like learn about his thought process, I think it's like a very relatable thing. I know a lot of people have been talking about like neurodiversity and how they feel like that was reflected by Tech. However, I also think like it's kind of a universal thing. Like we all process emotions differently and we all express them, and that's totally valid and like okay. And so like we're all gonna run into times where if we have maybe a loved one and we're like, I don't know what they're thinking, or do they actually care? And they totally do, but they just express it differently. And so that was really nice to see and kind of see how like Tech has not always been 2D and he was never 2D. Instead, that was just how he expressed himself. And so we get to see a little bit like behind his shell. So I really liked that.
Yeah, it's interesting because the whole pitch of Bad Batch is typecast, right? It's the idea of like these are kind of like the Ninja Turtles. I've
Mhm.
said that before, but I think they acknowledge that. It's the idea of like the smart one, the big tough one, the leader, the this one. Like it's all this different type of like one specific avenue and character type, and you don't really stray too much off that. But what's cool about this show is that it does that and it presents you to these characters in that
Mhm.
manner, but then it expands on that. It gets deeper and deeper as seasons go along. And obviously, as we get season two and we get through season two, we're seeing more of that. I want to see more Wrecker because I was watching this episode and I was actually like, man, if I was Wrecker, I'd be pissed. Like I'd be like, man, what do I gotta get everything? What I got? I'm tired of moving rocks. Like, like after a while, people laugh off Wrecker so much to the point that I'm like, I kind of want to explore that. Like, how does he really feel about being the goofy, funny guy, but being the strong guy who has to push everything and carry everything and do all the physical labor while everyone else doesn't have to? And those are kind of questions that came into my mind as I was watching this episode. So I definitely think the writers are killing it in that angle.
Totally. And even with Wrecker, like I think people think of him as like the dumb, silly, like goofy
Yeah.
one. But even then, like we saw facets of his character that we hadn't seen before, where he's kind of pushing Tech, and he's like, "Hey, no, you
Yeah.
need to talk to Omega and challenging them." And so, like, he's pushing things, but he's also pushing everyone emotionally in like a good way.
Yeah, that's definitely what it is. I love this show. I don't know how much you've enjoyed it so far, but I really appreciate this show. So I'm glad that they're exploring a lot more throughout this season. Let's move on to our full sabacc for this week.
Full sabacc.
And our full sabacc for this week is all about our Ahsoka live action show. I wanted to talk about this. I honestly don't know too much of your thoughts about Rebels, about Ahsoka, or about anything about that, but I just feel like it's just a cool topic to talk about what we can get from this show, what we can potentially see from this show, but also like our excitement behind it. So I want to start off with kind of like how are you feeling about the idea of this show in general?
Yeah, I'm really excited for Ahsoka. I've always loved the Clone Wars and Ahsoka. I feel like at first it took a little bit for me to warm up to her. But like in the end I like fell in love with her character and she's great. And even just seeing her in Rebels and having such an amazing little story like Rebels is I feel like that's probably one of my favorite animated projects. And so I think in all those animated projects, we started to see like little questions and little mysteries that still weren't even answered, like from Clone Wars to Ahsoka, back to Clone Wars, and even in Mando right now. So I'm excited that this series will be able to hopefully answer more questions.
Kind of going off that, I'm curious to hear your thoughts as far as how do you feel about these iconic Rebel characters coming into live action? Like, what is your initial thought behind that?
I'm really excited. I feel like while it's daunting because we learned to love these characters so well, um, it'll be interesting to see because clearly like Dave Filoni believes in it. And I think that's why even though I'm bit trepidatious. I'm like, okay, well, it has to be good though if he approved of it and like this is his vision. So I again, like I'm excited. I hope it's executed well, and hopefully, like I'm trusting Dave and hoping that it is executed well. Yeah.
I think that's my thing too. That's my follow-up question is the idea behind this show. A part of me is nervous because I'm like, I love these characters. I would love to see them, but maybe like in a one-off. Is there enough story to sustain like a season or 2 seasons or however many seasons they're gonna have? Because The Mandalorian does it so well because The Mandalorian was a figure that we weren't really familiar with, whereas we're so intimately familiar with these Rebels characters, whether it's Hera, Sabine, or Ezra, and now Ahsoka, obviously. But are you confident that is there enough story that we're going to get that kind of story that we need for these characters?
I have a feeling that'll be the case.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I feel
Yeah.
like the Rebels writing is, I personally, Rebels is my favorite all-time Star Wars TV show,
hmm
all time. And I think the writing is so high level that I'm afraid that like it's gonna be like, that's Hera, that's cool. And it's like, oh, after a while, you're like, oh no. Because Rebels is just so high up there that I just don't want it to be like a halfway done kind of thing where you're just more focused on the cameos and less on the story. But I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm living out my nerves and really confused about like where the story can potentially go. But I definitely, I don't know what your thoughts are about Star Wars live action, but where do you feel like it could kind of line up? Do you feel like it'll be more like Mandalorian style, Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan Kenobi style? What do you feel like the tone would lean towards?
I feel like, at least in the episodes that Ahsoka has showed up in, there's like a lot more of this tranquility that is definitely even like seen in Tales of the Jedi in the Ahsoka episodes. And it's very like Kurosawa inspired. So I have a feeling that that may be the case. Like there will be a lot of artsy stuff because Dave is an artsy guy. And so I think it'll be a different vibe, but it'll be familiar both for the people who love live action and also for the people who love Rebels and Clone Wars.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm so excited about this show. Did you happen to see the Ahsoka teaser at Star Wars Celebration last year?
Yes, I was there. It was really
Okay.
fun.
I was there too, and I lost my mind at obviously at everything, but at one specific moment, which was just the back of Hera's head.
Mhm.
I was like, "Oh my God, this live action Hera is gonna literally give me a heart attack." It's insane how much I love her character. So seeing her live action is gonna absolutely wreck me, especially if she's played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, which is the big rumor that is coming up. That's just gonna end me. It's gonna end my life, absolutely. I just can't wait. I love Rebels so much, so seeing them live action to me is gonna be absolutely amazing. Fingers crossed that the show is awesome. But let's move on to our
Okay.
Force flashback for today. And our Force flashback is all about these beloved animated characters that we're talking about, whether it's Omega, Wrecker, Tech. As we talked about, Ahsoka started off as animated, and now obviously Sabine, Ezra, and Hera making their live action debut. Is there another animated character that we know only in animation, or we've seen only in animation, that you would like to see in a live action version, whether it's a cameo, whether it's an episode of another show? Regardless of that, is there a specific animated character from Star Wars you would want to see live action?
Ooh, I feel like my first instinct is to say Hondo Inaka. But I feel like we already kind of saw him in Smuggler's Run, so it
Yeah, I
doesn't
was gonna
really
say we
count.
kind of seen it live action. Yeah.
But maybe uh probably Lux Bonteri. I feel like he was such an important character to Ahsoka in the Clone Wars, and then it was fun to see him in like the first Battlefront book. And so or no, second Battlefront book, yeah, with Iden. And there's clearly like stuff going on with him and the Rebels and the partisans as well. So I think it would be fun to see him, and maybe even if there was a mention of him in Ahsoka, or if we see him, or even in Mando, I don't know. I feel like it would be fun to see who Dave would want to cast as him.
That'd be So cool. I'm so curious what they would do with that for sure. There's so many I could name, obviously, throughout the Bad Batch and throughout Clone Wars. There are quite a few in Rebels as well. But I just kind of want to go with proximity effect and also the idea of recency bias, which is I kind of want to see Omega. I want to see a live
Oh,
action Omega, but I don't know if she has to. I mean, obviously, everyone's like the grown up version of Omega, but if we do see the grown-up version of Omega, I actually think that'd be fascinating, absolutely fascinating, and a very interesting character study as far as where she's gone since the Bad Batch. What do you feel about that?
yeah, I totally agree with that. I think if it would really depend on where she like popped up. For example, like if she were in Ahsoka, there would be a lot of questions. It's like, oh
Yeah,
no, like where is she? Who is she with? So that like I don't know, that makes us wonder a lot about Bad Batch. If it's after Bad Batch ends, like I guess that'll be fun if that happens to see like what's going on since that story. Kind of similar to Ahsoka in a way, like showing up in Mandalorian and us having a lot of questions about her.
yeah, I feel like that would definitely be the case, but it kind of be fun though. I feel like it would be
Mhm.
like a Spider-Man pointing meme if we see Boba Fett come out. It's like, wait a minute, clone another one. I think that'd be very interesting. And the fact that maybe I'm reaching, but the fact that Mandalorian is already kind of teasing the idea of
Mhm.
clones and the idea of like like we see that Camino connection, and I'm just like, it would kind of make sense if we see an older Omega pop up in the Mandalorian, maybe in a season 4 or 5, whatever it is. But I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Would you have a casting in mind for yours? Yeah,
Ooh, for Lux,
yeah, for like
I don't know. And maybe Orlando Bloom. I might just be biased because I like Orlando Bloom. That
it's the
would be
most
fun.
Lord of the Rings character ever.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
that
How
that'd be
about you?
amazing. I'm not even gonna try and guess. I think it's so tough to do this casting stuff. How about Omega? Would you have a casting idea for her?
Ooh, I feel like it would have to be like a Maori actress, and I don't
Mm,
feel like there are many that have been spotlighted.
mm,
Um, and so I feel like it would be fun to have a new actress.
that'd be
Especially because
cool.
Omega is such like a new character where you're trying to figure out about her. And I think a lot of casting is also like kind of like the baggage from that actor or actress that we
Sure.
like recognize from them. So for example, like in film school, my professors would talk about how if you like cast Willem Dafoe in something, right? Like you're expecting like a weird, quirky character because all of his past work has been like weird, quirky characters. So in that way, because Omega is so new and fresh, I think it would be really nice to have a fresh actress that we get to
Yeah.
go in with and like kind of like discover her in the same way that we're discovering her now.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally feel that. I feel like there's such a beautiful array of performers in New Zealand.
Hmm.
Um, that I feel like it's so underrated. There's a couple productions that shoot there, I know, or that shot there, I guess, because I don't know if it's still going on. Obviously, Lord of the Rings. But there's also like an actress. I don't know if you've seen The Foundation. It's an Apple TV show. A lot of the actors there are from New Zealand. I think they shoot a lot there. Also, The Expanse has a couple actors that are Kiwi. Um, and there's Spartacus, obviously, is another one. That's a very Kiwi show. Pretty much every actor in there is from New Zealand. So there are a lot of like Maori talent and Islander talent that could be explored and explored a lot more. I would love to see it. I've always said that I want to see more of it, if I'm being honest, because I just feel like their culture is so beautiful and they have so
Hmm.
much depth to themselves. Like every, I used to have a couple New Zealand friends that I grew up with during high school and college, and like they were always so interesting to me and so fascinating. So I would love that. That's a great choice. That's a great idea. So let's move on to our finale of this episode, which is our squad up with squad leader Ace which is a segment we do every week on this show, which is where I give you a prompt, a scenario within the Star Wars universe, and I give you options as far as like what you would do in this situation. And you pick your own little squad as far as what you would need for this situation to succeed. So let's move on to Squad Up. And in this Squad Up, you are a senator during the Galactic Republic intent on exposing the lies of the Emperor. You need these 5 things: a Jedi from any era to go undercover in a mission to steal evidence of the Empire's wrongdoing, a borrowed Imperial ship that will be used as a cover for your mission, a voice of reason that will deliver a message of hope to the galaxy during a galactic broadcast, and then a fellow senator who will co-sign your efforts and back you up, and finally, a wardrobe specialist outside of the Star Wars universe who will serve as your personal wardrobe guru, like stylist, whatever you want to call it. Another stylist from a different universe, whether it's Marvel or something else, any kind of franchise that we may know of. These are the 5 things you need, Aubree. So as a senator, Aubree, who is trying to expose these lies, first things first, who is the Jedi that you're going to pick to go on this mission?
I feel like I'll choose Qui-Gon Jinn. He's very discerning and he can be very diplomatic, which would be really helpful. But he's also like not afraid to get his hands dirty in the name of justice.
That's a great choice. I'm picking, so I'll go back and forth with you. I'm picking the number 1 undercover. Like, this guy is doing, this is what he does. This is what the council has told him to do his whole career as a Jedi. And that is my number 1 guy, Obi-Wan Kenobi. He
Aww.
is the go-to guy. Every time they're like, yo, we need someone to take out Grievous, Obi-Wan's got it. We need someone to find out what's going on with the princess and, Senator. With Senator Padme, who's trying to kill her. Obi-Wan's got this. We need someone to go undercover with bounty hunters. Obi-Wan's got this. Like, he is the guy to go on these missions. So I'm picking Obi-Wan. Who is your what is your I kind of like this question. What is the ship you're gonna steal or borrow from the Empire to work as your cover?
I feel like just in like classic original trilogy fashion, I have to go with the Lambda shuttle. It's like very stealthy looking, it's very smooth, pretty understated. I think we should be able to go under the radar that way.
Yes, that's a perfect choice. Obviously, it's the one that we all know and that we've seen used before in this manner in Return of the Jedi. So this is a great choice. And obviously, the one that opens Return of the Jedi too with Vader. So that's amazing. That's a really solid choice. I kind of want to let's go for a TIE fighter. Why not? We'll come in screaming with a TIE fighter, very loud and in your face. Just because Obi-Wan wants to fly a TIE. That's what he wants to do in this era. So I'm going with a TIE fighter. Who is your voice of reason that's going to give this grand speech to the entire galaxy that is going to inspire them to fight back against the Empire?
I want to go with Bail Organa. I feel like the Latina in me just like needs Jimmy Smits up there, and he's just so like even keeled. He's besties with Padme and Mon Mothma, and he also raised Leia, who's amazing. So it'd be amazing to see him like have a speech and talk about that.
That's a good choice. That's a really good choice. Yeah, I love it. Bale, definitely we've seen him recently in the Bad Batch as well. So we still see him that he's still doing his thing. He's still kicking butt against the Empire. What should I pick? Kind of going off that. You know what? I'm going to go with the number 1 homegirl, Senator. She's doing her thing. Chuchi. My girl, Chuchi, is going to rile up the troops with her accent, and she's going to go nuts. She has her security that is just top notch. I love those guys. Those guys are awesome. Chuchi will do the job. She will inspire the galaxy to just rise up and face down the Emperor. So I'm going with Chuchi. Now let's get to I think this is the finale, right? Let's get to, who is a senator that you're also picking to back you up?
I think I'd have to go with Padme. Yeah,
Padme.
I feel like it would be a good team. Like she's she worked well with Qui-Gon. She's like close with Bail,
Yeah,
and I think she has like a lot of diplomatic connections. So
yeah.
hopefully that would work.
That's a great choice. Padme is amazing, and she's definitely
Mhm.
probably the best if we're being honest. R.I.P. Padme. But if I'm going to follow that, I guess we're going senator and senator, huh? I think that's funny. We
Yeah.
didn't pick a Jedi to give a speech. I'm gonna pick Mon Mothma. Mon Mothma's
Ooh.
got my back. She's got the hookups with Luthen. She's got hookups in other areas too.
Mhm.
She is definitely down to do business and down to do the right thing. So I want to have Mon Mothma having my back. And finally, we get to the looks, the fits, the drip. Who is going to be your drip king or queen that is going to just style you up and make you look like, I don't know, for some reason, I imagine like senators have to have like an FU wardrobe or like a I look so damn good. Like you got to
Like
listen to me.
Princess Diana revenge style
Yeah,
dress.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You have to have like some sort of like look at me like, damn, she looks like a boss. I better listen to her and her policies. So who is your stylist?
So this was a hard question for me. I feel like I debated Meryl Streep from Devil Wears Prada, because I feel like that would be very iconic. But
Yes.
then I was like, I don't know if she would be able to read the room very well. So I feel like I need something magic. So I think I'm gonna go with Cinderella's fairy godmother.
Oh, whoa. Absolutely no need for any physical items.
Nope.
Just pop them out using magic. It's going to be so
Yep,
confusing for everyone. It's like, is that the force? No, it's just fairy godmother magic.
exactly.
That's
You just got to get done before midnight.
absolutely, that's really cool. That's a really unique choice. Is it going to be like extravagant, like dresses? Is it going to be like something more, out there? What are you thinking?
Hmm. I feel like it has to like reflect my culture, my planet,
Yeah.
but also be able to like make a statement. So I don't know. I think I'll leave it up to the magic.
Sure. Whatever the magic decides. Yeah. The magic's got your back for sure. This
Exactly.
is a fun question because I feel like there's so many incredible like super stylists outside of the Star Wars universe that you can pick to be your Star Wars stylist. So I was thinking of like maybe Edna from
Yeah.
The Incredibles. I think that would be an interesting choice, but my choice is not going to be that. The one who inspired this question for me, because I'm rereading this book. Shout out to the Hunger Games. I'm going with Cinna.
Oh.
Cinna's got my back. Cinna's gonna make me look good, and again, he's gonna
Mhm.
have like an FU kind of wardrobe where I inspire revolution just by how I look. That's what he
That's
does.
perfect.
So
Totally.
Cinna from Hunger Games is my choice for my stylist and my wardrobe specialist. So let's go down the list as far as again the prompt: a senator trying to expose the lies of the emperor. Give me your Jedi, and then go down the list as far as everyone else you need. So first off, your Jedi.
Will definitely be Qui-Gon Jinn. Um, and then we'll go in a Lambda class shuttle. And then my voice of reason will be Bail Organa. And then Padme will back me up signing our little law or whatever. And then my stylist will be Cinderella's fairy godmother.
That's amazing. That's definitely a squad for the ages. My
Definitely.
Jedi is the undercover man himself, Obi-Wan Kenobi. My borrowed ship is a TIE fighter. My voice of reason, who's giving this speech, is none other than Chuchi. And the one backing up Chuchi is Mon Mothma. And finally, my stylist, wardrobe specialist, who's bringing out all the fits, is Cinna from Hunger Games, from the capital. Shout out to him. So thank you, Aubree, obviously for this entire episode, for your time, but doing this, having the patience for it, everything. I appreciate your time on this episode for Sabacc the Block, Aubree. Let
Of
everyone know
course.
where they can find you, anything you're working on, anything you want to promote. Feel free.
Yeah, so you can find me at Dreamed of Magic on all social media. That's my handle. where I talk about like various things, a lot of Star Wars though. You can also, if you want to see me talk about Star Wars occasionally, I'm on the Convor Call on YouTube, where I also host the podcast The Stormcrow Song to talk about Tolkien. And then on top of that, if you want to read my writing about pop culture, you can catch me at Streamer, where I'm also on management there.
Awesome. Aubree, once again, thank you so much. Can I ask the meaning behind Dreamed of Magic? The handle?
Yeah. It's a C.S. Lewis quote. It's a part of a C.S. Lewis quote. I'm
Oh,
a
no
very
way.
big C.S. Lewis fan.
Got you.
I love a lot of his work, and so that was a part of one of his quotes. So I think like I was making a website, and I just wanted something that like made me happy. And C.S. Lewis has always written things that made me happy, and like even brought me to tears. So moving. So I chose that.
Awesome. Obviously, go check that out, Dreamed of Magic, on Twitter and Instagram too. You have an Instagram, right?
Yes.
Awesome.
I
Go
need to
ahead and
post
do
more
that.
there.
Yeah, for sure. I'm the same way. You can follow me, guys, at Squad Leader Ace on Twitter and Instagram as well. Follow us at First Cut TMO on YouTube, obviously right here at First Cut, and on TikTok at First Cut TMO as well. I'm making little TikToks on there, so make sure you guys follow me. But either way, guys, for Sabacc the Block and for the Sabacc the Block crew, we're going to be peacing out. So peace.